first item I want to share with you is, as many of you know, Honorable Gary Nkombo has been dismissed from his position as Minister of Local Government and Housing. Now, this is what I find interesting about this situation. And I'm so glad Gary spoke to it, because usually people don't speak to it. It's first of all important to understand that the appointing authority, who in this case is the head of state, P1, he appoints, he disappoints. He hires, he fires. That is the nature of that job. That is something you can never get away from. All the way from first president Kaunda in those days, the only difference between Kaunda's administration and these latest administrations is, and some of you will remember this, press conference from State House. And the cameras come on, because, you know, in those days it was just ZNBC. Okay, this was the mid-70s, early 80s, mid-early 80s. When you saw Dr. Kenneth Kaunda on ZNBC, sitting at a table with a white linen cloth across the table, a few flowers on top of the table, and you heard the peacocks, somebody's going to get fired. Now, everybody's just blindsided. You don't even know. You don't even know where it's going to come from. Muriba Kaunda, at least we had the privilege of hearing the peacock. As soon as you heard the peacock, that was a telltale sign somebody's going to get fired. And it always happened. But what I find interesting about what has happened is that I love the fact that Gary has spoken to it. I love the fact that Gary has declared his position, his loyalty, his steadfast support for the head of state. Okay? That is very, very important, and that's also very, very telling. Because what that's saying is, it's not giving opposition opportunists to attempt to take advantage of this situation. There are people like Harry Kalaba who immediately hearing that Nkombo had been dismissed, all of a sudden Harry Kalaba began to offer his solidarity. No, Gary, you're a true patriot. You shall be vindicated. Gutter street guerrilla politics. And I'm so glad Gary said when he was appointed, none of you jokers said anything about his appointment. None of you jokers said anything about him being the Minister of Local Government and Housing. But the moment he's been dismissed, all of a sudden, you jokers want to jump on the bandwagon and start talking about this, that, and the other. Gary has made it abundantly clear. His loyalty, his support still remains with P1 and the head of state, and nothing will change that. Guys, let's understand, okay? Let's not lose sight of the important role that Gary Nkombo played and still plays within the UPND. And this is something I know, not because he's told me or because I've heard it. It's self-evident. Gary Nkombo, some of you may not realize, was the very first person that coined the word, the phrase, New Dawn. Did you know this? You didn't know that? It's true. Gary Nkombo was the gatekeeper on election day when the UPND was ushered into office. That transitional period, there was a little gap. Had Gary Nkombo not stood in that gap, things wouldn't be where we are today. The administration owes a lot to Gary's participation. P1 recognizes that. I know P1 recognizes that. How do you know, mwewa? It's self-evident. Just because you fire someone, it doesn't mean that you kick them to the curb and they're useless. No, I mean, we don't know We're not privy to that circle of information. We may know at some stage, but what I'm trying to communicate to you is this. P1 knows the important role that Gary played within the UPND. Gary knows the important role he played within the UPND. Notwithstanding, the appointing authority can appoint and disappoint. That's just the way it is. That's the name of the game. The quicker you understand that, the better off you are. I mean, I remember Kasanda when she was minister of, what was she? Tell me in the comments. I forget what she was. Tell me what was Vakasanda? She was the minister of, before she was relieved of her duties. What was she? Tell me in the comments. I seem to forget. My apologies for having that slip, that information slip my mind. But that's the reason I need you guys to sort of remind me of so that you can keep me in check. What was Vakasanda before she was relieved of her duties? Tell me in the comments below. I can see it from here. Information, that's right. Thank you very much. Who is that? Moses. Thank you. Guys, when you are dismissed of a ministerial position, but you are a member of parliament, yeah, it's a little embarrassing. Maybe it's not so great, but you're not out of the circle. I saw Vakasanda months after she was relieved of her duties. She was healthy. She seemed happy. She was content. She was fine. In the same vein, by the same token, Gary Nkombo is not going anywhere. He's going to be fine. Gary Nkombo is still member of parliament over there in Mazabuga. He's going to be okay. He knows his worth. And I want to echo what he said, is that, look, if you as the opposition are trying to jump on this bandwagon of the enemy of my enemy is my friend, that doesn't work. You know why? Because Gary is not an enemy to P1. P1 is not Gary's enemy. They are friends. They are close. Whatever's happened has happened. And we may know what caused that. You know, we don't know what caused Vakasanda's dismissal. I know some of you say, no, she was incompetent, this, that, and the other. Well, but you don't know, you know. And that's something, yes, I agree. We should know that. But then if we don't know, then we don't know. But the truth is that friendship, that closeness is not going to be diminished, and the opposition are not going to drive a wedge between Gary and P1. Why? Because that friendship, the longevity of that friendship far outweighs any type of attempt by the opposition to drive a wedge between them. So in my view, I'm sad that Gary's gone, but I rely fully on the wisdom of P1. Whatever reason he's done that, we have to trust that. Why? Because he's the leader. He's the president. It's like a leader of a company. When you decide to fire someone, we have to rely on your wisdom, your expertise, your reasoning for making that decision. And we're fine with it. We are fine with it. Sad, but fine with it. Okay? That's the bottom line. What's the next thing? What are we talking about next? Tell me in the comments. Oh, Harry Kalaba. As many of you know, Harry Kalaba had a rally today. He was given permission by the police to hold a rally. I think, where was it? Was it Matero? Please tell me where it was, because sometimes I lose track of what these guys are doing. You know, they're all over the show. You don't even know where they are sometimes. Tell me in the comments, where was Harry today? Was he in Matero or Kanyama? Where was he? Where was he? Because there's something I want to say about that. I watched part of the rally. Sorry about that. Kawamba. Linda. That's right. It was Linda. It wasn't Matero. It was Linda. It wasn't Matero. It was Linda. two things I just want to point out to you. Please first tell me, are we back? Because I received a phone call, and when that happens, my live feed cuts. Just tell me if we're back. Just type "we're back" so that I know. Thank you so much for being patient with me. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Just go ahead and as soon as I read "we're back," I'll know that we're back on after the live was cut. We can see you continue. Thank you, Bo. Thank you very much. So one of the things that I noticed about Harry Kalaba's rally was, first of all, it wasn't a poor attendance, but it was an attendance that was more befitting for someone running for MP. Does that make sense? Tell me in the comments if that makes sense. Let me say it again because I think that's important. The attendance was not a bad attendance, but it was an attendance that was more befitting an MP or a councillor, not someone who says they want to run for president. There was a lot of showboating there, and when it finally got time for Harry Kalaba to be introduced to the crowd, do you know what I noticed that was just so telling? It was very difficult to ignore. The fact that they had a red carpet rolled out for a presidential candidate. If being presumptuous was a person, if putting the cart before the horse was a person, you are a presidential candidate, and in fact, you are a candidate under the banner of UKA Alliance, so there's no guarantee that you will be the candidate selected to run and lead that alliance. But you are so presumptuous, so hungry for power, that you even have the audacity, the gall, the unmitigated, unbridled, unrestricted gall to roll out a red carpet when you are just a candidate. You Zambians. Red carpet, you are not a president, but you are from a red carpet. Where on earth, as we say in Zambia? Where on earth? Walk before you run. Crawl before you walk. This is the sequence, okay? You're born, you crawl, you walk, then you run. You don't just jump out of the womb and start sprinting. Who do you think you are? Usain Bolt? Yo mwewa, you don't know. Destiny yakwe. No, man. Don't pump yourself more than what you are. Red carpet as a presidential candidate. Red carpet ya ingira moshani. Just go there, talk to those people, unveil your vision for what you think will work for you if and when you become the president, indeed, of this country. But when you begin to showboat, you even roll out a red carpet. Total nonsense. Unbridled, unrestricted nonsense. All right. That's all I'm going to say about that. Well, no. I have to say, I listened to part of Harry Kalaba's speech. He was waffling. He was up there. He was nobody today. Vaisa tuevati ubunga ukabachite ubunga taure bomba ero amalaiti bala tutana. Appealing to the what's the word? The unenlightened, for lack of a better word. Appealing, trying to tap into the ignorance of the electorate. Yo amalaiti bali tutana. Tawafa kutupera. Bali kwata amalaiti mumaya ndamiyabo ifatatwa kwata. That's foolish. Because you know that's not what's happening. You know good and hell well that nobody is sitting in a house saying, Uyasha. Uyasha. Ndekweba uyasha. Tubatane amalaiti tatule. Fire ba matero bakwata amalaiti. Uyasha. Sengerere nyukone mwala tupenya. All right. Chilufya tayali. This joker, you know, I was a guest on Kenny T's podcast, and Kenny T asked me about my deportation, which I'm very open about now. But there was a time in my life when I was younger, it used to plague me. I used to worry that somebody would find out about this. But with the benefit of longevity and age, you come to a place where you realize, you know what, it happened. So what? I explained on Kenny T why I was deported. Tayali posts my video and says, does this make sense? Well, maybe since you were there, maybe you can tell us exactly what happened. Since my account, because I was there, my account is not good enough for you, maybe you should tell us what really happened so that it makes sense. But guess what? I couldn't give two bent pens what you think. You believe it or not, take it or leave it. That's what happened. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Okay? There you go. All righty. Why me and JJ Banda? Of course, it is clear now that those two jokers, they're basically in the same house. They're roommates now, for goodness sake. How the hell do you pair why me with JJ Banda? You could not come up with two of the most opposite people in the whole world. One is a lunatic, the other one is a self-absorbed nut. And then you put them together. That, PF, we know PF Tonse, we know you guys are behind this mess. You guys are making sure that they are housed, they are fed, they are funded. But let me tell you, you're not going to do that for long because you're going to get very tired of those two. Those two, in their minds, are heroes. They think they speak for the opposition. In their minds, they are the ones that are holding the candelabra of democratic virtue, when in reality, they are gnats. They are zeros. They are there to titillate the senses of the ignorant. That's what those chaps are there for. You think those chaps can give proper checks and balances? JJ Banda, why me? That caliber of citizenry. You think those chaps can give you accurate, reliable checks and balances? Where on earth? Where on earth? Anyway, Zambians, we know why you listen to those chaps. Because it entertains you. It titillates you. But the truth is, when the dust settles and when the dew dries, the people that chart the way for this nation are people that are informed, that make decisions based upon full and accurate information, not lies and innuendos and gossiping. Nobody walks into the ballot box. Well, let me change that. Very few people walk into the ballot box because of something JJ Banda and why me said. No, why me are you under? So, twala chitajani, twala fivotela. Bushilu bweka bweko, bushilu. So, imwe baiche imwe. Don't, mwina ibika pota mwava. You are entertainers. That's what you are. You are misfits. You make up a pair of deplorables. And I tell you what, if both of you guys were on fire, I wouldn't spit on you to save your life. You'd have to be from Louisiana to understand that. If you're not from South Baton Rouge, you're not going to get that. It's either that or you have to be a Pentecostal Christian. One. All righty. Okay, I got to go. It's 10 after 8. Thanks for listening, guys. God bless. Have a great weekend. Bye.